Chapter 1. The Call in the Fog. Fog. That was what Elara remembered most about the small, ancient town where she lived with her grandmother. It was like a perpetual shroud, clinging to the old slate roofs, creeping into every slippery cobblestone alley, and turning the weak yellow street lamps into ghostly, hovering orbs. Even on the rare summer days, a damp chill seemed to linger in the air, seeping through the thick stone walls of the attic apartment where the two of them resided. The house itself seemed to hold its breath, old and weary, occasionally letting out creaks and groans, as if whispering secrets of its own in the silence. Elara, 11 years old, often sat by the attic window, gazing down at the quiet street below through the misted glass. She had messy, dark brown hair and large gray-blue eyes that always held a look of quiet observation. She felt different, not just from the children at the small village school, but from the heavy, somber atmosphere of this place itself. But more than difference, there was a constant sense of unease, that familiar chill down her spine as if someone, or something, was watching her from the nameless dark corners of the house, from the thick fog outside. She had learned not to stare too long into the shadows, afraid they might stare back. Elara's grandmother, a petite woman with neatly pinned silver hair and wrinkled but nimble hands, loved the girl dearly. But that love was always intertwined with an almost tangible fear. Her warnings weren't just the usual admonitions, they were tinged with darkness. Never answer if you hear your name called from an empty place, Elara. The shadows have ears, child. Don't do anything to attract their notice. There are doors that once opened can never be closed again. Every evening, she would murmur old prayers and meticulously check the locks, sometimes sprinkling something with a pungent herbal scent around the window sills. Strange things still happened around Elara, but they no longer felt innocent. Sometimes she'd notice spiders on the wall seeming to pause, turning in unison towards her. The vague whispers she used to hear were clearer now, like fragmented syllables snatched away by the wind just before she could understand them. Most unsettling was the faint scratching sound behind the wall in her bedroom. Occasional at first, it had recently become more persistent, as if something was patiently trying to claw its way through. And the dreams, always that same dark, damp, endless corridor. But now she felt the cold breath on the back of her neck more distinctly, the heavy footsteps right behind her, and on the damp, stained walls she saw crude drawings of a griffin, distorted and menacing, its eyes glowing red with malice. The tension reached its peak one particularly bleak September afternoon. The fog was so thick, Elara couldn't see the building across the street. The house felt colder than ever. The electric lights flickered erratically, then died, leaving only the weak glow of the candle her grandmother had just lit. The scratching behind the wall became frantic, frenzied. Elara huddled close to her grandmother, both silent, listening, hearts pounding. She felt a strange static electricity in the air, making the hairs on her arms stand on end. Then suddenly, all sound ceased. A heavy, dreadful silence fell. At that exact moment, in the darkest corner of the small living room, a small black spot appeared on the old wooden floor. It wasn't a shadow. It was deeper, like a tear in reality. The spot slowly widened, grew denser. The air in the room turned frigid, and then from the center of the darkness, a cream-colored envelope slowly emerged, hovering inches above the floor before gently settling. A faint, cold hiss echoed for a moment, then faded. Elara and her grandmother stared at the unnervingly appeared envelope. Grandmother gave a small cry and scrambled back, pulling Elara tightly behind her. But Elara, though terrified, felt a strange compulsion. She slowly moved forward, picking up the envelope. The parchment felt unnaturally cold and slightly damp to the touch. The emerald green ink spelling out her name, Miss Elara Vance, the attic apartment, number 12 Cobblestone Street, seemed to ripple faintly. The deep red wax seal depicted a griffin, looking incredibly fierce, and as Elara's finger brushed against it, the seal suddenly became intensely hot. For a second, making her snatch her hand back. She thought she heard a tiny, strangled growl. "Don't open it, Elara. Throw it away," Grandmother whispered, her voice trembling. But the curiosity, the fear, and that strange, insistent pull were too strong. Her hands shaking, Elara broke the seal. Inside was a sheet of heavy parchment, written in the same shimmering ink. Argentum Academy of Magical Arts. Dear Miss Vance, we are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted at Argentum Academy of Magical Arts. Term begins on September 1st. Please find enclosed a list of necessary books and equipment, including The Standard Book of Spells, Grade 1, by Miranda Goshawk, A History of European Magic by Bathilda Bagshot, 1000 Magical Herbs and Fungi by Phillida Spore, An Introduction to Defensive Mind Arts by Quentin Trimble, A Beginner's Guide to Identifying Lesser Dark Entities by N.K. Furtive, 3 sets of plain work robes, midnight blue wool, 1 pewter cauldron, standard size 2, 1 set of glass or crystal phials, 1 telescope, 1 set of brass scales, silver knife for potion ingredients, handle with care, 1 wand, further instruction on acquisition to follow. See Nocturne Alley or other licensed vendors. Powdered bone for use in select, basic rituals. We await your confirmation by July 31st. Sincerely, Alaric Thorne, Deputy Headmaster. Beneath the signature, another line, scrawled hastily in a darker, messier ink, as if added as an afterthought. It is time to return, Descendant. No, it can't be, Grandmother screamed when Elara finished reading, her voice cracking with horror. She lunged forward, snatching the letter. The Argent Seal! It's marked you. They know you're here. She tried to crumple it, tear it, but the parchment felt unnaturally tough. In desperation, she threw it towards the cold, empty fireplace. Your parents, they escaped. Thorne, escaped those at Argentum. They sealed your memories, your power, to hide you. But this letter, this seal, it's broken everything. Trembling, she pulled up her worn sleeve, revealing a long, white, jagged scar on her forearm. This is the price of meddling in their world. At that exact moment, as if her words were a cue, the chaos outside began. Bang, bang, bang. Heavy, powerful blows slammed against the old oak front door, shaking the entire apartment. The door shuddered violently. Through the thick fog outside the window, Elara saw tall, distorted, dark shapes flit past, blocking the faint light from the single remaining street lamp. The howling wind outside twisted into savage laughter, into guttural snarls filled with malice. The feeling of being watched became the suffocating certainty of being hunted. Crack. A split appeared in the front door. The wood groaned. Grandmother cried out, shoving Elara behind her. She grabbed the iron fireplace poker, standing defensively before the door, her face deathly pale, but her eyes showing a final desperate defiance. Crash! The door splintered inwards. Elara could see the oppressive darkness beyond. She stood frozen in the middle of the room, the sound of her own heartbeat deafening amidst the chaos. Then, through the howling wind and splintering wood, a voice spoke from just beyond the ruined door. A low, rasping, inhuman voice, thick with cruel satisfaction. Found you. End of chapter 1.